Evening everybody, thank you for joining me for Coffee and Card at Home. This is my second outing, I guess, with this today, as I've already done this morning with my group of ladies on Zoom. So this is for anyone that wasn't able to join us, or for anyone else that wants to have a look and see what we were making this morning. And it is the third week of using the Posted For You stamp set and the punch that coordinates with it as well. So I'm just going to try and get myself sorted with my video, and then we'll be able to make a start. So if you are on this evening, drop me a little message to say hello. It's nice to know if people are watching and joining in. So I'm just going to see if I can see if everything looks good, and then we'll make a start. There we go. Right, seem to have it working now. Brilliant. So, like I say, this is the third week of using the Posted For You stamp set. So each week I've tried to do something a little different, and this week the main focus is colouring techniques. So this is a slightly longer bit of crafting, because obviously there's the colouring, so I probably won't colour in absolutely everything, otherwise you'll be here watching me for absolutely ages. So I am going to get my card base sorted out first of all, just so that I can get that ready and sorted. So I'm just going to burnish my fold line. This is Crumb Cake card that I'm using, and it's in our standard C6 size, which is half an A4 sheet, and then scored at 10.5 centimetres. So I'm going to pop that out of the way for a minute. I've also got a piece of white, Whisper White, that I'm going to be using for stamping on, and then I've got a little cut out piece of Pool Party here, which we're going to stamp a sentiment onto. So I'm just going to get my inks ready for that bit. So the main images are all stamped with black Memento ink. I'm using a colouring technique that works with that type of ink because I'm not using any water. So if you wanted to use watercolours with an aqua painter or something like that, then you would need to use a stays on permanent ink. So I'm just going to stamp my images. So I need 5 altogether, and if I'm careful with how I position them, I should be able to get 5 on. I just need to give myself a little bit of space so that I can fit it in the punch properly when I cut it out. I was trying to think what I wanted to say then. So just to get my 5th image on, I'm just going to turn this one around and pop that one down there. There we go. So I'll just get some of my ink off my stamp and clean that off. And whilst I've got my ink out, I'm just going to stamp my sentiment, and then that's all my stamping done then. So this has been cut out with the classic label punch. Obviously, ordinarily you would stamp first and then cut out, but because I prepared this pack for my ladies to send off to them, I'd punch that out in advance for them. So you need quite a small sentiment to fit on there. So I'm using the sentiment Just a Note, and it just about fits on there. Perfect, just got it on there. So right, so that's all my stamping done. Now on to our colouring. So just going to get my colours that I want to use. I have got the 2 different sets of watercolour pencils that we have, so you might want to use kind of a bit of a mixture of them depending on what you've got. So I'm wanting some nice greens, and I think I'm going to do my birds different this time. On my other card you'll see that I did sort of like robins on this one. On this one I actually did it so that I did birds there and I did flowers there. So you've got the choice in the stamp set of using the flowers if you want to. So I'm just going to pick out my colours that I need. So I'm going to get a blue and a yellow. We'll have some pretty coloured birds this time, and I think I'm going to go for a vibrant green for my leaves. So I've got granny apple green for my leaves, and I have Pacific Point, and I have Daffodil Delight. So those are the colours I'm going to use. So I'm using watercolour pencils, but I'm not actually going to watercolour with them. It's really a kind of a technique which I actually showed it on my Tuesday tip last week, where if your colouring is not beautifully neat, if you don't find colouring particularly easy, or if you're in a little bit of a rush, which I am in a way because I don't want you to have to sit and watch me colouring in for hours on end, it's a great way of hiding some of the imperfections that you might get if you've been colouring in a little bit quickly. So I may not colour all of these images in actually, just because I don't want you to have to sit and watch me colouring in for the entire evening. I might just do 3 of them, and I can always finish the rest later on. But you can see I'm not really taking very much time. I am being quite quick, and I probably wouldn't be this quick normally, but this will really help to get rid of some of those lines. I'm just going to put a little bit of a darker green on. So this is garden green, just to emphasise some of the veins on the leaves a little bit. And again, I'm not being particularly neat, just kind of quite quick, just to get a little bit of depth of colour on there with something else. So that gets 3 of my images coloured in anyway. Then I'm going to go in and colour in my birds. So strictly speaking, you know, these may not be completely like, I was kind of thinking of, you know, blue tits kind of thing. I know they sort of have some yellow on them, so I'm going to go for a little bit of an interesting variation on the colour for my birds. But I think this is the thing, you don't have to be too perfect. So I'm going to get a bit of blue on there, and then we'll get a bit of yellow on. Oh, they look quite sweet actually. Again, I'm just being quite quick, just a little bit of blending, but not too much. There we go. Okay, so this is where the magic happens. So I'm going to take one of our alcohol pens, which they are called blend pens. You get 3 in a pack. They will last you forever, and you can use them with absolutely any colour ink or anything like that. So I'm just going to go now over the top of my leaves, and what happens, you may not be able to see it particularly well on the camera, but it blends my 2 colours together beautifully, and it takes away all those rough lines from my rushed kind of colouring. So it's a really good tool to have amongst your stash, because if you don't find colouring particularly easy, this really covers all of those imperfections up beautifully. And it also sort of brings out the vibrancy of the colours as well. So it's a very different technique to watercolouring, because if I was watercolouring and I was putting water, I just noticed I missed one there. If I was putting water on top of this, it would give you a much paler colour, and it could possibly bleed out of the image shape, and it would give you a totally different effect. So this technique really is about, you want to do that neat colouring, you want to have it a neat effect, but you may not have the time or the skill or, you know, whatever, and it's just something else to just add to your list of things that you can do. So the key thing to remember when you finish doing that though is to clean off your pen. So I just scrub it on my grid paper and you'll see the colour will come off, and then that is fine then to use with any other colour. So I'm now going to go back to my birds. I'm going to work on my blue. So I'm going to do all of the blue and see how that is really making that colour look really beautiful. So I'm going to go to each of my birds, and it is easier to stick with the same colour for a little bit, and then you can clean it off before you go to your next colour. So again, I'm going to scrub that and get rid of that. Now I'm going to work on my yellow, and you'll get just a natural bit of blending between the two colours as well. So you'll probably notice you've got a little bit of green coming through on the birds. So it's really nice tool to have. So obviously I've got two more to colour in, but I won't spend all the time colouring those in whilst you're with me. The next thing we need to do is we need to get those cut out. So we're using the Rectangular Postage Stamp Punch, and I'm just going to get each of those punched out. So we're going to line them up in the middle. There we go. I really love this little bird punch as well, bird stamp as well. It's very cute. So I'm just going to cut off that little bit that I've got left there so I can get the punch back in. I really like actually the blue and yellow of these birds compared to the red I did earlier actually. It's really nice. So again, just need to cut a little bit off and get that out of the way. Oops. And then punch out my last one. So you can see what I mean about having to just make sure that you've got a little bit of space between them, because you don't want to have it coming out and chopping a bit of your other image off. So this is a little bit small for me to hold on to it while it's in the punch, so I'm just going to do something that again was one of my Tuesday tips the other day, of how to use a post-it note with your punch just to hold it in place. So it just helps you to be able to hold a small piece of card and stop it moving around. And then you can remove your post-it note and use it again for something else, or if it does accidentally cut into it, it doesn't matter obviously at all. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our stamps onto our card. And what I did when I put them on is I actually cut one in half, so that I could have half at the top there and half at the bottom here. So I'm going to cut one just in half. You could do it with your trimmer or just fine with your scissors actually, because you can line it up with the little kind of dips on each side quite well. And then I'm just going to pop actually that one at the bottom, get them the right way around, and that one's going to go there. So it's just getting them the right way around. So I'm just going to get that stuck on. So I'm just using Tombow. Just going to line my card up with my grid paper so that I can use the lines to get everything straight. That one's just going to sit on there. I'm going to put the other one above it. So what we're creating is sort of like, you know, when you buy the stamps from the post office and you get them all joined to one another. I don't think they do that so much now that they're all adhesive, but they used to. I mean, you used to have to lick the stamps. They'd all come sort of joined together and you had to tear them off. And then the other one at the top there. So we're lining them up with each other so you can see where the little perforation bits end up going. There we go. And then this one's going to work the other way, so we're going to put this one at the top. Again, I'm just going to try and use my grid lines to help me line it up. Oops. And then obviously these next ones are going to go on, and I'll colour those ones in later. You could actually go for all different birds if you wanted to. You could really enjoy the colouring and have some robins, have some blue tits and sparrows and all sorts of things. That'd be really nice. And then last one on. Just making sure you're keeping everything nice and straight. And then the final thing we've got to do is just to put our sentiment on. So you can choose where you want it to go. On one of mine, I put it down at the bottom here. On the other one, I put it at the top. You could have it across the middle. You could have it down the bottom here, at the top here, wherever you want it to go really. And I just raised it up with some dimensionals. So I'm just going to use some of the small mini dimensionals just to attach that. You probably need, that's about 4, because what you don't want to have happen is it sort of dip down in the middle. There you go, so I'm just going to peel peel the backings off. That one's already off, that one's already off, there we go. And I think this time I'm going to go in the middle, slightly over torn on the side, there we go. And then the only thing that I thought I would add that I didn't add on my other one is I really love the little postage mark stamp that says special delivery. So I'm just going to use, I'm just going to pop that on to a block, and then I'm going to use the same colour ink as the card. I don't want it to stand out too much, so I'm going to do some tone on tone stamping. I'm just going to find where I've got my crumb cake. So it's crumb cake card and crumb cake ink. And I'm just going to put that in the corner. It's just something that I just suddenly thought I'd quite like to do that. So I'm just going to go in the corner there. And another one just there. And I think that just finishes it off. So obviously I have a little bit of colouring left to do on mine, which won't take me too long to finish off, but I didn't want you to have to stand and watch me do that. But you can see as well the variation in the cards, where we've got here, we've got the nice blues and yellows. Here we've got something a bit more Christmassy maybe, and then in here where I've used the flowers as well as the robins, you've got a slightly different approach there as well. So you can really make lots of differences very quickly, and you could try having a go. If you had an image that would work, you could have a go at doing it in a landscape version. So lots of different possibilities. You could play around with ideas and see what worked best for you. So just to recap what we've used, we have used the Posted For You stamp set, which coordinates with the Rectangular Postage Stamp Punch. They come as a bundle. We have used Crumb Cake card stock and a little bit of Whisper White cardstock and some Pool Party cardstock. And then inks, I have used the Memento Black ink, and then I just used a little bit of Crumb Cake ink to create those stamps on there as well. I used the, oh, I can't remember what this is called now. Oh, it will come to me when I don't want it to. This punch as well. It'll come to me, and then of course the watercolour pencils, which come in 2 different sets, and then our wonderful thing, the blend pen, which we've used to take out any of the imperfections in our colouring. And then of course the final thing was adhesive, so Tombow glue and some mini dimensionals. So I hope you've enjoyed watching that. If there's anything at all you'd like a hand with, or any materials that you'd like to purchase, then please do get in touch with me. You can private message me on my Facebook page, or you can email me at claire@clairescraftstore.co.uk, and I can help you with any of those things. But in the meantime, have a great week, and I will see you again next Monday for our final week using this bundle, the Posted For You bundle, and that will be our final card in my series of 4. So thank you for joining me. Have a good week, and see you next time. Bye.